Oh boy, have I got a story for you, but I guess everybody already knows this story, so it's not really much of a surprise, unless you've been living under a rock for the last couple of months. Things about male feminists have been popping up all over the place, showing how much of a piece of shit they truly are. But this one's very interesting because in the early days of my channel, this guy was a little bit of a staple. Like I made about 4 videos on him, I think, over the course of a couple of weeks. And then that was it forever. And then all of a sudden, today, the saga continues. So I am, of course, talking about Joss Whedon. Now, what's Joss done? Has he just decided to get offended over something? Has he been ran off of Twitter again? Has he decided to anger his feminist fan base? No. What has happened is this. He cheated on his wife. And don't worry, this wasn't just one time, but multiple times over the course of a 15-year marriage. 15 years. This guy decided to cheat on his wife, and apparently it all started from Buffy, but I'm just spoiling the story, so let's get it straight from the horse's mouth from his wife, who wrote an article about this. So let's just read this and let's all just laugh, because this is truly spicy. Joss Whedon is a hypocrite preaching feminist ideals, ex-wife Kai Cole says, guess the blog. He used his relationship with me as a shield, so no one would question his relationships with other women or scrutinise his writing as anything other than feminist, she writes. Oh dear, this is juicy. Let's continue. I've been asked some questions by the press recently about my divorce from Joss Whedon, to whom I was married for 16 years. There is misinformation out there, and I feel the best way to clear up this situation is to tell my truth. Let me begin by saying I am a very private person, and the act of writing this is antithetical to who I am and everything I stand for. Yet, at the same time, I feel compelled to go on the record and clear up some misperceptions. I don't think it's fair to me or other women to remain silent any longer. Yeah, because people totally don't care about women's feelings when they've been wronged by men in some way, but when men go public about women wronging them, either they get attacked for it or nobody gives a shit. I mean, I should know. I met Joss in 1991. I was driving across the country from Massachusetts on a whim and met him when I was passing through Los Angeles. We fell in love and I moved to LA so we could be together. I was with him when his Buffy the Vampire Slayer script was adapted and the resulting movie released. It was painful to see how his vision was interpreted by the production team, and on our honeymoon to England in 1995, I urged him to figure out how to turn it into a TV show. He didn't want to work in television anymore, following in his father's and grandfather's footsteps, but I convinced him it was the fastest way to get the experience he needed so he could direct his own film someday. I had no idea, in that lovely garden in Bath, that it would change everything. Oh, the plot thickens. There were times in our relationship that I was uncomfortable with the attention Joss paid other women. He always had a lot of female friends, where he told me it was because his mother raised him as a feminist, so he just liked women better. He had said he admired and respected females. He didn't lust after them. I believed him and trusted him. On the set of Buffy, Joss decided to have his first secret affair. You believed him. You believed a man could not lust or covet other women. 15 years later, when he was done with our marriage and finally ready to tell the truth, he wrote me, when I was running Buffy, I was surrounded by beautiful, needy, aggressive young women. It felt like I had a disease, like something from a Greek myth. Suddenly, I am a powerful producer and the world is laid out at my feet and I can't touch it. But he did touch it. He said he understood. I would have to lie or conceal some part of the truth for the rest of my life, but he did it anyway, hoping that that first affair would be enough, that then we could move on and outlast it. Joss admitted that for the next decade and a half, he hid multiple affairs and a number of inappropriate emotional ones that he had with his actresses, co-workers, fans and friends, while he stayed married to me. He wrote me a letter when our marriage was falling apart, but I still didn't know the whole truth, and said, I've never loved anyone or I wanted to be with anyone in a real or long-term way except for you ever, and I love our life. I love how we are, who you are, and what we've done, both separately and together. How much fun we have. He wanted it all. He didn't want to choose, so he accepted the duality as a part of his life. He loved you so much he cheated on you. Yeah, he totally wanted to be with you only. That's why he had his cake and ate it too, right? Then later, after he confessed everything, he told me, I let myself love you. I stopped worrying about the contradiction. As a guilty man, I knew the only way to hide was to act as though I were righteous. And as a husband, I wanted to be with you like we had been. I lived 2 lives. When we walked out of our marriage, I was trying to make things seem less bewildering, to help me understand how he could have lied to me for so long. He said, in many ways, I was the height of normal in this culture. We're taught to be providers and companions, and at the same time, to conquer and acquire, specifically sexually. And I was pulling off both!
He made me do it!
Bitch, are you for real?
The patriarchy made me do it. It was society. I have to be both. That is just the biggest pile of bullshit I've ever seen. Truly, Joss Whedon has been thinking about the excuses that he would have to make to his wife when he eventually would have to tell her everything. And my God, this is the juiciest excuse I've ever seen. Usually some people just say, you know what? I couldn't help myself. I gave in to temptation. I seduced her or whatever. Some people are honest about it. This guy can't even be honest about why he cheated. I mean, he's just blaming society. It's not his fault. Society made him do it. You see, the thing is, Joss, you know damn well that society does not teach men to do both. It does not tell them to do both. You cannot be a provider and a companion, but at the same time, conquer and acquire women. That's not what men are taught to do. Like, they're not supposed to. You're supposed to, once you've been in some kind of monogamous relationship, to be faithful, and that's on both sides of the coin. Men and women have to be faithful and, you know, help each other, love each other, support each other. And the men aren't meant to go out and be with other women. That's frowned upon. You know that, right? I'd like to imagine if he ever won an Oscar at this time and did a faux pas, I'd imagine it'd be something like this.
Thank you very much, and I thank Almighty God who was above. I always wish to win one of these, and I got it. So thank you very much for this, for giving me this. And I appreciate my fans also. My wife and my girlfriend. My wife. Yeah, sorry to say. I'm so sorry, my wife. Listen, I love you so much. Aya, I love you so much from my heart. Ne?
Despite understanding, on some level, that what he was doing was wrong, he never conceded the hypocrisy of being out in the world preaching feminist ideals, while at the same time taking away my right to make choices for my life and my body based on the truth. He deceived me for 15 years so he could have everything he wanted. I believed, everyone believed, that he was one of the good guys, committed to fighting for women's rights, committed to our marriage and to the women he worked with. But I now see how he used his relationship with me as a shield, both during and after our marriage, so no one would question his relationships with other women or scrutinise his writing as anything other than feminist. Typical male feminist, isn't it? A piece of shit. Sorry, Kai, but now you've learnt a valuable life lesson. Well, the thing is, though, let's be honest, I think he's the only male feminist that's actually done this. The rest of them would rather be cheated on or be in some kind of one-sided polyamorous relationship where they become cooks. He's actually the alpha male feminist. So in many ways, it's kind of not admirable, but I can't help but feel at least he didn't cook himself. I mean, I guess he's a cook to some extent anyway, because he's a feminist, but damn, I was not expecting this from him. I would have expected something less, but it's interesting that you say that he was preaching his feminist ideals while at the same time taking away your right to freedom of choice and all that stuff. I might have paraphrased you horribly there, but it makes this picture all the more interesting. I ain't saying they did it, but you're thinking what I'm thinking. I thought we were a couple, a team. I was a powerful influence on the career choices Joss made during the 20 years we were together. We lived together for 4 years before marrying. I kept him grounded and helped him find the quickest way to success he so deeply craved. I loved him, and in return he lied to me a lot. He said after he left, he understood. It's not just like I killed you, but that I'd done it subtly over years. That I'd been poisoning you, chipping away at you. He made me doubt my own instincts and watching me move away from my personal values and social mores, trying to connect with him, never telling me it was impossible. By the time he finally confessed the truth, 15 years after his first affair on the set of Buffy, I was broken. My brain could not fit my experience of our life together through the new lens of his deceit. I just like how the guy couldn't tell her during the relationship. He had to tell her after, just when they leave, just when they finally part. That's just a scumbag move. And then I can't help but feel she has a bit of a, I don't know, high opinion of herself, because she's trying to take credit for all his career moves, keeping him grounded. Well, good luck with that. He clearly didn't. Look at his Twitter feed. He's anything but grounded. He was anything but grounded when he was together with her. So, yeah, you have a very high opinion of what you did and what you were like with him. And I can't help but feel I'd rather not know any of these two. But let's just move on. My entire reality changed overnight, and I went from being a strong, confident woman to a confused, frightened mess. I was eventually diagnosed with complex PTSD, and for the last 5 years, I have worked hard to make sense of everything that happened and find my balance again. It has not been easy, because even though in my personal life, I have been completely open about what happened, publicly, people only know his superficial presentation of us, him as a lovable geek feminist, and me in the background as his wife and supporter. Oh, that's very traditionalist, isn't it? Very. For a so-called feminist. But again, look, I don't know if there's a link between her mental illness and this event. I don't know. But also, I'd like to add, there's no such thing as a lovable geek feminist. We're finally divorced. I'm doing architecture again, and slowly getting my life and self-esteem back. Until recently, Josh was still letting the illusion of our marriage stay intact. Now that it's finally public, I want to let women know that he is not who he pretends to be. I want the people who worship him to know he is human, and the organisations giving him awards for his feminist work to think twice in the future about honouring a man who does not practice what he preaches. But no matter what happens, or how people interpret this statement, I no longer have to carry the burden of Joss's long-term deceit and confessions. I am free. Free as a bird. Go out there and meet a person who will not cheat on you. There's plenty more fish in the sea, and most men are not like Joss Whedon. Don't let that colour your perception of us. You were with him for 15 years, so you know that men aren't like him. Good luck, and hope Joss Whedon never has a partner ever again and he just dies lonely, because that's what should happen to cheaters, but oh well. Editor's note, a spokesperson for Joss Whedon provided the following response. While this account includes inaccuracies and misrepresentations which can be harmful to their family, Joss is not commenting out of concern for his children and out of respect for his ex-wife. Well, you know, we wouldn't want him to come out publicly and say that he was a cheater now, could we? I mean, that would just be so bad for his reputation. Anyway, that's it. The story pretty much is what you expect it to be. Male feminist turns out to be not what he claims to be. He's just a piece of shit. I mean, Russian Deadpool has kind of opened a Pandora's box. Like, all these things just keep flooding out. I mean, there were hints here and there and things that happened before then, but now everything is unravelling and we're getting a clear picture of what these people are like. And it's no longer surprising, even though it really should be. But I can't wait to see what else is happening. So anyway, until next time, I'll see you later.